Before you spend $1 on buying land in Texas, make sure you watch all 3 segments of my How to Buy Land in Texas in 2026 videos. 3 separate videos that walk through all the different sections of buying land, specifically to Texas and even more specifically to Central Texas, with the ability to apply statewide. So here's the deal. There's a lot of steps that the majority of buyers skip, and it can cost them anywhere from $15,000 to $20,000. Today, I'm going to walk you through how to avoid missing out on certain things that can be very costly after you make your purchase. We're going to cover today exemptions, title, and closing timelines. Okay, exemptions are huge. When you don't respect those and maintain them, you're going to pay a lot of money as a consequence. Here's why this matters. An ag valuation can drop the effective property tax rate on qualifying land from roughly 2.38% to around 0.35%. I've seen where someone's had it be $8,000 or $9,000 to $800 a year for property taxes, okay? Now, this is once a tract qualifies, meaning there's a huge chunk of savings. Now, how do you qualify if you buy a piece of land that doesn't already have one? Here's the deal. You've got to maintain some type of agricultural use for 5 years once you take ownership. Ownership, closing, from closing, 5 years. You have to show that you've kept it in ag production for 5 years. Whether it's leasing it to someone for someone else to have ag production, maybe having a local farmer put row crop in it, having someone else run cattle on it, maybe you run your own cattle, whatever it is, keep it in ag production for 5 years. Keep records of what you're doing for those 5 years. Now, if you're not ready to manage land day to day, lease it to someone else, right? This is a foolproof system for getting your ag production or getting your qualification checklist met, if you will. Now, here's the caveat. Exemption status or exemption valuation is not automatic. You have to have an application, you have to have evidence of ag use, and you have to have the annual compliance documentation that goes with it. Changing your use later without notifying the county can trigger rollback taxes. Okay, plan ahead. If you go to apply and you might have 2 different types of production on your property, put both. Or if you're planning to possibly have more than one, but you don't have those both rolling yet, put them both just in case. Because if you go and you're doing one, but then you swap to the other and don't tell the county, you can get slapped on the hand and charged a lot of money. Let's take a look at title and surveys. Title insurance, you can expect roughly 0.5 to 0.6% when you make a purchase for the owner's title policy in many Texas transactions. Now, this does vary a little bit by rates and endorsements, all that stuff. So just take that as it's a quote or an estimate. Make sure you are reviewing exceptions carefully, especially for easements and mineral rights. When you go to make a purchase, check on mineral rights. Ask, are the mineral rights conveying with the property? Are there any left to convey? Maybe there are. Maybe there aren't. Who knows? You might strike a rich and hit oil. I don't know. Next, let's talk about the survey. We talked about this a little bit in segment 2. Make sure that you are aware of your boundary lines if they don't have a fence on them. Now, a boundary survey on a 20-acre tract often runs about $3,000 depending on terrain. If there's tree coverage, easement complexity, how much time a surveyor has to do in the office digging into documentation. If it's a larger or irregular tract, that can cost more. Here's why surveys matter. This confirms acreages, encroachments, and access. It aligns with title exceptions. It also supports lender requirements and any type of future use. Let's take a look at minerals and surface rights here. You want to ask whether or not the minerals are going to convey and whether there are existing leases or surface use agreements. Even when minerals don't convey, surface protections can be negotiated in some cases. Okay, you make a purchase. You go through your period, your feasibility period, you've done your due diligence, you've checked all your boxes, and you're like, Paige, I'm exhausted. Let's talk about your closing timeline, okay? The closing timeline is going to be dictated by several things. One of them is your feasibility period. How long did it take for you to do all your homework and do all your due diligence, right? Now, the closing timeline, here's your typical cadence or plan, if you will. Land purchases typically take between 30 to 45 days to close, assuming financing and all of those things. Now, your feasibility period, like we talked about, is generally 15 to 30 days. And that allows you to do your due diligence, your homework, get your tests, your bids, your paperwork, right? Now, here's the deal. Day 1 through 3, this is just kind of an outline. This is when they open up escrow, order title, get the survey rolling. Then week 1 in general, we're looking to apply for utility quotes, scheduling soil or any type of well testing. If you need to get estimates, then this is your time to do that. Week 2, this is when you're going to be reviewing title commitment, walking property lines, verifying access and easements. Week 3, we should be getting back soil reports. We should be getting back quotes. We should be getting back all those estimates that we might have ordered. And then you can also make sure to satisfy any lender conditions that have come up at this time. Weeks 4 through 6, right? This is when your appraisal should be coming back if it's required. Most cases it is when you're doing financing. There should be a survey that's delivered. If there's any type of title corrections that need to be made, by now they should have been corrected. And then we should be receiving a clear to close in weeks 4 through 6. Now, if your feasibility period is like 30 days long, then you may be pushing out the appraisal and different things based on when the feasibility period is over. So again, 4 to 6 weeks. Now, if you're looking at a cash purchase, you can close a lot faster. But I still want to encourage you to allow time for due diligence. Get your ducks in a row, get your paperwork, get your proof. This is a great way for you to save money because you just can't shortcut data and facts in writing, okay? Now, let's take a look at something that might come available in terms of a budget. We talked about like what you can afford within Taylor that's about $500,000, right? Inside Taylor city limits with water access, you're looking at between 5 to 7 acres, depending on location and proximity, and also improvements. Now, if you have about $500,000 and you're okay with being outside of city limits or a little bit farther outside of Taylor, Thrall and Copeland can get you about 10 to 18 acres for $500,000 with utilities nearby or at the road. Now, soft costs that you need to budget early, your survey, remember about $3,000 on 20 acres. Your soil test, if that's something your septic company covers or not, figure that out. Well allowance, you're going to have to put a well in. Septic, about $8,000 to $12,000. A driveway, $4,000 to $12,000, depending on length. If you have to do a power drop, or their water tap fees, you're going to have to bore under the road. Remember, all of those things are things that we check into and are going to be on top of the purchase price of your piece of raw land. Now, if you need lower holding costs, you can plan for ag use or maybe leases from day 1 until your exemption can kick in. Or hopefully you can find a piece that's already exempt and then you can apply to have the exemption transferred from the previous owner to you, the new owner. This wraps up segment 3 of how to buy land in Texas in 2026. Download my free land buying checklist in the description. It includes information about feasibility timelines, a vendor contact list, as well as cost ranges that you can kind of work with. Text me at 512-269-7907 for 5 current pieces of land or acreage within the Taylor area, and I'll get those delivered to you today.